Seems appropriate for today. That's the Pretenders singing "I'll Stand By You." The United States basically is in a big pile of shit right now. Many thanks to that idiot in the White House, and also many thanks to abusive, racist police officers. You all know what's been going on. You've been following along with all of us, I'm sure. And this episode, I'm going to go on a rather lengthy rant about the instances of this week, what actually occurred this week. But to let it simmer for a little bit, I know what's going through most people's heads right now. I know you're hearing all about this. I know you're getting it thrown to your face, but it is a very important story right now about how awful everything is right now. Hence the name, episode 351, of Dylan Knows, Dylan versus 2020. I hope it says 351. If it doesn't, then hopefully I'll be able to redo the title, but we'll figure it out. But what's been going on in the last few days has basically socked up most of the stories that we're going to be talking about today, but there are other stuff going on as well. And we haven't forgotten about the other elephant in the room with COVID-19 still being around. I need to go on a slight round on that real quick. People on social media now are saying, particularly the conservatives, they're saying, oh, look, COVID-19 is now not important anymore. Racism is the big story. So, I guess COVID-19 was never a big issue. It was just to scare everybody, and now something else to scare people. You're a fucking moron, and I'm going to fucking curse like a fucking sailor today because you're a fucking moron, whoever wrote that. I know who wrote it, but I'm not going to say anything. You wrote that shit because you are an unbelievable, unintelligent, racist bitch and don't understand that we haven't forgotten about COVID-19. It has been sitting there, and we've been talking about it for months, even though we shouldn't be, with over 100,000 deaths right now. If anybody, it's your group that probably doesn't want us to be talking about. That's why this is all coming up, because you want everyone to forget that 100,000 people died on your watch. We haven't forgotten about it. And if you look at the protests that are going on now, there are people that have their masks on. They might not be doing the distancing, but at this time right now, it's a major national emergency right now. And they do have their masks on, and they probably will have their hand sanitizer, probably have some in their pockets right now. But we haven't forgotten about it. We've been talking about it for months. This just so happens to be an important story right now that we can't just, brush under the rug right now, because your boy is a walking disaster, traitor, pussy, weakling, baby diaper man. We're going to find out a little bit more about that. One of the first stories I'm going to talk about actually is COVID-19. We're going to talk about some monkeys that got a little too frisky with a lab assistant and stole some COVID-19 samples. Hey, why not? It's 2020. We're also going to be talking about alligators making a return to Maryland. We're talking about a Bolivian orchestra stranded in a haunted German castle surrounded by wolves. We're going to talk about mythical meats. We're going to talk about nerd candles. SpaceX launched today, successful, men in space again, men and women, I should say. Some new food stuff coming up, more space stuff. NBA and NHL have pretty much determined they're going to be playing this year. More deaths, a whole heck of a lot about what happened this week with this week in racism and in little pussy whiny diaper baby presidents. UFOs, Mongolia, deaths. Mike Tyson has a secret. What else? Sequels. A revisit to the Snyder story from last week, the Snyder Cut story from last week. What else? Sea Creature Tea Bags. That's what I should name the episode instead. Rita's Alcohol. Loki season 2, maybe. A child soldier who became a general. Brazilian sex hotels. Sex play gone wrong. Sex rituals. Henry Cavill is back. Some mysterious findings have been discovered. Ben & Jerry's has a new ice cream flavor. I better connect all these because this is all one big story right there. Lots about sequels because Labyrinth is getting a sequel. Hooligans. S'mores pudding. What the hell is that? Oh, well, I'll find out. Sorry, just a lot going on here. So I have no idea what that says. So hopefully I'll be able to figure it out. My eyes are tired today. So anyway, summer, June 1st is coming up on Monday. That is meteorological summer. So summer is coming. So why not start off with a sangria slushy? Sangria is a fruit wine. It's actually red wine mixed with fruit. That's a very refreshing drink during the summer, particularly. I drank it a lot during the plays I did in college because our director during our cast party, she would make sangria for us. So that was really cool. A roller coaster wants to keep their tracks running and test it, make sure everything's okay before they open up back to the public. So what they did is they put a number of giant stuffed bears into all the seats of their roller coaster, tagged a camera on it, and then ran the roller coaster. And you could see the reactions of the giant stuffed bears. It was actually really kind of neat. They looked like they were coming to life. Freaked out people. HBO Max has arrived, but apparently you cannot access it on Roku or Amazon Fire Stick, which I have, so that's kind of a pain in the ass. Also, the geek side, there was an article I saw on the internet today, or not today, this week, that a lot of the geek movies that they were pushing to get you to get HBO are actually a little wanting. They released their secret weapon that they have all Harry Potter movies on their streaming service. So that's fine. I don't have HBO Max, plus also the Crunchyroll manga or anime that they said they're going to be airing also is only a very small sample size and not nearly as much as Crunchyroll is offering, probably because Crunchyroll wants you to join Crunchyroll and not HBO Max. So they're saying a lot of stuff, but it might not be exactly what you're looking for. So just bear that in mind. And also, first I thought Roku and Amazon Fire were going to get it, but apparently they are not getting it. So it's interesting. A alligator rumored to be owned by Adolf Hitler has died. I guess alligators do live a long time. What, World War II was 70, 80 years ago. So I guess that could conceivably be true. I mean, the turtles from Rocky in the 1970s are still alive now. Sylvester Stallone still is watching them. So that's 40, 50 some years. So I guess it makes sense for that. And speaking of alligators, I mentioned this before. Alligator has been seen swimming in the Inner Harbor here in Baltimore, and also has been seen in other parts of the state. So alligators are starting to appear in Maryland, which is unusual because we really don't have alligators. We're not Florida. So that's kind of odd. We just have fish that walk. Not anymore. They all got taken care of, but still for a while there, that's all we had. When it came to strange species of animals. So that's what's going on with that. This was some good news. a man makes a squirrel ninja course to get to walnuts. Now, he had been watching the squirrels in his backyard attacking his bird feeder, and he didn't want the birds to be affected by that. So he decided that, and he still wanted to feed the squirrels too. So he decided he came up with an idea to create one of those ninja courses things, the Ninja Warrior course things that you see on TV now, but for squirrels. So he created in his backyard this insane and contraption with all these different sections where the squirrels are going to have to make their way through to get to the prize, which is their own feeder of walnuts put on top of the bird feeder. They have to walk across wires, and there's areas where if they linger too long, they'll be flipped in the air and thrown off. They have to start over again. And the guy has been studying squirrels, and he noticed that, when squirrels are flying in the air, they have the specific movement they get into so they can land on their feet just like cats do. So he wasn't worried about them getting hurt when they get flung. And he also didn't fling them too fast, and also had nets available so they wouldn't get hurt, and get them to try again. So he had 3 squirrels who always appeared to eat the bird feeder stuff, entered the ninja course, and he actually filmed it all and actually discovered they were a little smart in some of the aspects. Instead of crossing the wire course that they had to, which was going to be kind of hard for them to think, they just leaped from one platform to the next. Only really 1 or 2 of them really lingered on the springy board. Most of the time they stayed there long enough to get out. He also put a fake nut just to see if they'll take the bait for that. They didn't. They were smart about that. So eventually he videotaped it. It's actually showed the whole video. It's about a 15-minute long video. It's really cute and really interesting to see. And then after a while, he said, okay, I can't keep this up my backyard all the time. So he took down the contraption. But what he did instead is he created I think you've probably seen the picnic table for squirrels. He's the one that created that. So he got one of those pet feeders that has a timer that launches food at a specific time of day. So he filled it with the walnuts, and he put it by a replica of a squirrel-sized picnic table. And every day at like 8 a.m., he would launch the walnuts out, and the squirrels would come eat it. Eventually, the squirrels would sit at the picnic table and eat it. And eventually they did it day after day. They realized it was always the same time every day. So they would actually get up there, sit, and wait for the food to come down. And there was also one that thought they were being pretty slick by jumping on top of the feeder and trying to pry open the top to get to the food inside. The guy who created it was the same guy who created, I told the story a couple years ago, the Amazon glitter bomb. Basically, people, you get you get deliveries from Amazon or whatever, and a lot of times, not everywhere, but in some places, they get stolen right off of the porch by people who want to get free stuff, because there could be anything in there. It could be computer stuff, phones, videos, books, jewelry, anything. So they have been stealing people's Amazon stuff. So this guy created a fake Amazon box and gave it to a guy who's been having all his stuff stolen all the time. So inside it, he created a glitter bomb, a stink bomb, and a fan was in there so it would spread around the glitter and the stink. And he put phones in there that would start recording the video once it opened it up or something like that. It also had GPS, so they could find the box again and maybe catch the person, or at least catch the vehicle it was in, or get the box back with the phones in it. So he did it a couple times, and it's actually hilarious when the thieves actually steal the stuff and are shocked and amazed by what happened. So this guy is very creative, and it really is a really interesting course and video. If you can find it, you should totally check it out. We have 2020 has been an absolute disaster. January, we had the fires that destroyed basically Australia, and Kobe Bryant died. February, we had COVID-19 starting to make its appearance. March, it full on hit the United States. And then we've had early hurricanes. We've had snow in May. We've had flooding. We've had earthquakes. We've had the sun is at a low voltage right now. So 2020 is turning into a shit show. Now we have this pandemic. We also have this racist race war going on right now. And we have murder hornets. Well, now we can add something else. Actually, two things we can add to it. One, we can add aggressive cannibal rats who are facing shortages of garbage since people have been staying at home and not dropping their garbage and not creating garbage out in the city. So they've been resorting to cannibalism to survive, but now they're getting to get really starving. So they're going to attack anyone or anything to get food. The CDC themselves has warned us about the aggressiveness of these cannibal rats. So, hey, there's something else you can add to the list. And the other thing also is monkeys in India attacked a lab assistant and ran off with 6 vials of blood samples that had COVID-19 in it. Luckily that the vials had been recovered, but the fact is monkeys attacking an assistant and stealing specifically COVID-19 test tubes. Again, I've been saying this for years. There's something going on with the animals. Something is clicking in their heads. They're evolving. They're learning, whatever, but something is going on. And this is just another sign of the end of the world. Dylan versus 2020, as the episode is. Stuff like that, you know? Bolivian orchestra is stranded at a haunted German castle that's surrounded by wolves. That sounds like the setup for a horror movie, but it is an actual event going on right now. Due to the COVID-19 stuff, they had to stay where they are, and it happened to be a haunted German castle that have wolves surrounding them. So just seems kind of creepy and interesting at the same time. SpaceX launch was today. It was supposed to happen a couple days ago, but the second tropical storm of the year, a full 2 or 3 days before actual beginning of hurricane season, which is on June 1st, has appeared. So we've had 2 named storms already hit on the East Coast. Nothing too bad, nothing too heavy, nothing too major, but still the fact is we've had 2 named tropical storms form and hit the East Coast over the last week or so, a full week before the actual hurricane season starts. 2020 again, I'm telling you. Someone should be writing the book of 2020 right now. It would be right now, this chapter, we'd be about probably 300 pages in right now, and we're only in almost June. So absolutely insanity. But the SpaceX launch was supposed to happen. That's the ship that Elon Musk created, that NASA helped develop as well, and is going to take the place apparently of the space shuttle, and they're going to try to, use it to send people to the International Space Station instead of having to fly them over to Russia or China or wherever, Europe, whoever, and fly up from there. So they did a launch with people inside of it, and it entered Earth's orbit, and they actually landed it also, because that's the other thing you can do too, much like with the space shuttles as well. So everything worked out fine. So that was the first test. So now we'll see what happens with the future of things. Speaking of future stuff, my son was disappointed today. Fortnite, the video game that that my son's been playing about the last, it's probably been since March, probably it's been the last 3 months or so, since right before they went to no longer go to school. His friend got him into it. And he's been playing it almost nonstop every day. And I've been watching him, and I've actually enjoyed watching him when he plays the matches. So I put it on my phone, and I've been playing it periodically. I'm still not good on the phone. It's not the same as doing it on the Switch. But I did get my first victory royale the other day, which means I was the last one standing in a battle royale, and I only killed 1 person, so that's crazy. So I have that under my belt, which is good. But Fortnite was supposed to have their live Doomsday event today at 2 p.m. But earlier this week, we got learned from Epic Games, which is the creator of the game, that Fortnite has been pushed, as pushing their live Doomsday event to next Saturday, June 6th at 2 o'clock, and also pushed the new season of Fortnite to June 11th. It was supposed to be June 4th. So everything's been moved back a week. So my son was a little disappointed about that, but he'll get over it quickly. He found a new emote called the Tootsie Slide that he's obsessed about. So we'll see if we can get that for him soon. We'll see. Necco wafers are back after a 2-year absence. I don't think I've ever had a Necco wafer before. I've heard of them, but I don't think I've ever actually seen them before. But they're back, so yay, I guess. I just thought it'd be good, interesting news for you guys. So I'll let you guys take it as you will. Sticking with space, a NASA solar probe sends back the first pictures of inside the sun's atmosphere. It's never been done before, never been seen before. So that's was kind of a neat shock to see. Another interesting space thing. Jupiter has trapped a comet in a bizarre orbit around its planet. It is the biggest object in the galaxy. Maybe the sun might be bigger, but Jupiter is a very close second. But it has now trapped a comet in a bizarre orbit around Jupiter, which has never been seen before. That's kind of interesting. An Earth-sized planet has been located orbiting Proxima Centauri, which is actually closer to us than Alpha Centauri is. So we actually, the closest star to us that is not our sun is Proxima Centauri. Now we have proof that an actual Earth-sized planet is orbiting Proxima Centauri. So that's good news, since it's not that far away. It's in our backyard for all intents and purposes. Still would take hundreds of years to get there, but still the fact is that there is a exoplanet so close to our galaxy now is actually kind of fascinating. Any other sports stuff on here? China's ready to launch their artificial sun. I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, or last year, or something like that. They have decided that they wanted to create something called an artificial sun. See, they can do it to be a satellite that would rotate the Earth. That would be, a light in the sky, not as bright as the sun, obviously, but still would be something you would not be able to miss in the night sky. I don't know what for, but it is getting ready to launch sooner than later. So we'll see about that. Ancient tunnel that leads to the underworld was discovered under a Mexican pyramid. So tunnels have been all the rage. I've been telling stories about all these crazy tunnels that have been appearing or been discovered recently. So here's another one that's supposed to lead to the underworld. In Mexican religious beliefs, I suppose it was a way to spirit off your loved ones and your dead relatives, stuff like that, down this tunnel underneath the pyramid. So interesting. The Xbox logo was found on a tomb in China. It's just a coincidence, but it sure as hell looks a hell of a lot like the Xbox logo. So that's kind of interesting to see that as well. And who knows what's going on in the world of ancientism. There's a remote village where people have been photographed walking on all fours instead of walking on two legs. That's an unusual thing, but it's not that unusual, to be honest, because who knows traditions and how things are. But this remote village, the people there walk on all fours and not two legs. So that's something interesting to think about. The first baby koala has been born in the wild in Australia after those massive fires that hit the country in January during their massive summer. Because remember, the seasons are flipped on them. They are just about to enter into winter, which means the poor penguins are going to be suffering down in Antarctica for a couple months. So hopefully they'll be okay. The temperature is going to be drastically cooler in the southern hemisphere now. So we'll see what happens. Fisherman performs a C-section on a dead pregnant shark. I don't know if he killed it, but he might have found the dead shark floating, realized it was pregnant, and wanted to see if everything was okay. So did a C-section on a dead pregnant shark and discovered 98 live baby sharks inside her belly. So they were alive. Sorry, my son had his schoolwork up. They were alive, but so we'll see what he's going to do with the 98 live baby sharks. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark. I'm sorry, had to do it. Fans of Disney, rejoice. Disneyland and Disney World and SeaWorld and all the Disneys are going to be opening up in July over a span of a couple days. I forget, one's opening July 13th, one's opening July 15th. I forget which one is which. And at the same time, Disney World will have a limited mask-free zone so that you don't have to wear masks all the time. You will have to wear masks when you go to Disney when they reopen in July, unless things change drastically. But they are going to be creating a section where you don't have to wear the mask if you don't want to. So good on that. So that takes care of two stories there. The NBA will be back apparently on July 31st. It doesn't make much sense to restart your season and do a finals, because that'll probably take it to just about probably September. And then your season usually starts in late October, your new season. So I don't know if they're just going to just keep going with a little break in between and make this sort of like a preseason practice thing and then bring in their draft pick. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it is supposed to start up again on July 31st. Excuse me. The NHL's Players Association has voted to have a 24-team playoff season. So they'll figure out some sort of, they'll play a couple games, but it'll only be these 24 teams. And the top 24 teams in the NHL, and they will have, different series, 7. They'll figure out the seeding and stuff like that, and then they'll whittle that down to the Stanley Cup Finals. So that seems more reasonable, actually, instead of restarting a season, playing a limited season like I think the NBA is going to do. The NHL is just going to say, okay, we'll play a couple games just to get you guys back in shape, and then we're starting the playoffs. And then they'll do the playoffs. That's why they've expanded the playoff teams to 24. And I think there's only 6 teams that did not make the playoff cut, and those were the 6 worst teams with the worst records when they stopped playing. And they'll seed the other 24 depending on their way they usually do seeding stuff, and they'll figure out how to do it. It's going to be like in specific, I think, Florida and only a couple of specific areas. So it's not going to be in, like, if you have a Chicago versus Washington sort of thing, it's not going to be games in Chicago, games in Washington. They're all going to be played in one neutral area. So to be continued, but for fans of the NBA and NHL, you will be getting your sports back in about 2 months. Technically a month, since it's almost June. Actually, it's May 30th, so NBA starts in 2 months. And I would assume the NHL would start soon around that time as well, if not before, because their season is going to be a bit shorter, I think, than the NBA is. Speaking of other cancellations, comic conventions, most of them have been canceled, with the exception of the Tampa Bay one is still going to go in the next week or so, which is absolutely stupid because we still are under COVID-19 stuff. But they don't care, so whatever. But San Diego's done. Chicago's done for the year. Baltimore is still open right now because that's not till October or September. I think it's October, actually. When's Baltimore? I think it's October, actually. So it has not been canceled. Baltimore Comic Con is scheduled for excuse me. Okay, the home page. It is scheduled for. Hello, where are you? I can't tell. Regardless, it's either September or October. I couldn't tell you right now exactly when it is, because they're not telling me here. Okay, October 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So that's a little bit of ways away. So they believe that they will truly be up and about. Damn, Tim, you're racist. Anyway, um, so I'm not even going to reply to that. But yes, October 23rd, 24th, and 25th is when the Baltimore Comic Con is. So they are still going to be, as of now, they are not canceling the Comic Con. So that's pretty good. What movie are you watching? Invisible Man. Okay, that's pretty good. So we'll see that's coming. But for the conventions that they're going to be missed, a lot of the big draws of conventions are the Comic Con exclusives that you can only get at the Comic Cons that you can sell for a lot of money because you can only get them at the cons. Well, the comic companies, actually not Marvel is the first one to do this. Marvel's decided they're going to sell their Comic Con exclusive or send their Comic Con exclusive directly to comic stores. So I guess comic stores will have to order. There'll probably be a capped amount that they can order, and they'll be able to sell it at a reasonable price, I would assume. Maybe not necessarily as much as a Comic Con exclusive would be because they're not actually going anywhere to get it. They're just getting a special exclusive that's made for Comic Con. But the fact of the matter is that they're going to be releasing the Comic Con exclusives to the comic stores. Marvel's going to be doing that, so that's a good thing for them as well. Ryan Gosling is going to appear in a brand new Wolfman movie from Universal. Universal Studios owns the Universal Monsters: Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon. They tried to create a dark universe. They were going to try to do an interconnected universe that started with Tom Cruise's version of The Mummy, which was a failure. And it also introduced Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, played by Russell Crowe. But now, they were going to have Angelina Jolie play Bride of Frankenstein, and there was going to be a Dracula movie that came out that was supposed to set the whole thing in motion, but that didn't do well either. So they're considering dumping it. But the Invisible Man did really, really well. And now the Wolfman is doing really well. So it's Universal, but if you get like a Blumhouse or something like that to co-op it, you might be able to make your dark universe after all if you want. So we'll see what happens. But Ryan Gosling seems like he might be a good Wolfman. And we haven't had a good Wolfman movie in a while, so why not? Werewolves are still kind of interesting. Home Depot workers put up a "Do Not Disturb" sign after discovering raccoon babies in their mulch pallet. A mulch pallet in the store. They discovered raccoon babies inside it, so they put a sign that says "Do Not Disturb. Let the babies stay." So I don't know where the mother raccoon is, or if it's outside, or what. I don't know, but they are going to allow the babies to stay, which is a good thing. French beekeepers were surprised to find blue and green colored honey in the beehives until they learned that the bees had gone to a local M&M factory. I don't know, I guess the chemicals in the air or the plants had a weird, but the coloring that they use for M&Ms maybe got into the system a little bit, and so that's why they had different colored honey. So I don't know if that's good, bad, and different. I don't know. They didn't really say much, so we'll see what happens. Here's some interesting stuff. MythicalMeats.com is going to be offering a chance for you to eat griffin, phoenix, werewolf, watch out, Ryan Gosling, kraken, chupacabra, unicorn, dragon, pegasus, basilisk, and the Loch Ness monster. They are meat sticks that are not literally, because these are all mythical creatures, but the names of these specific meats are going to have distinct flavors. So the phoenix might be a little bit more spicy since, hey, it's fiery, stuff like that. Werewolf might be a bit more gamey, stuff like that. Kraken will be very fishy sort of tasting. But chupacabra, who knows? Unicorn, who knows? If it's based on a unicorn drink, it'll taste like peach bubble gum, which I had last week. So, but that was just, I found that kind of interesting. So I'm not getting any money from this, so don't ban me or anything like that from that. I just thought it was kind of an interesting story. Same with this one. Perfume.com is offering Tiberius, Sulu, Pokemon, Deadpool, Punisher, SpongeBob, Red Shirt, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cologne. So they're all different types of colognes that smell and are in designs that feature your favorite Star Trek, Marvel, or cartoon. So you too can smell like Tiberius. So I think that was kind of clever. 3 young Spider-Man fans let Black Widows bite them to try to get superpowers. So they found some Black Widows and they decided to let the Black Widows try to bite them and see if it would give them superpowers. And it didn't, obviously. It made them very, very sick. They did not die. They're okay, which is good, but still, I shake my head. The asshole in charge makes a rule allowing Alaskan hunters to kill bear cubs in their own dens. That is an absolute travesty and horrific, and that idiot should be thrown out of office. Now we got a full page of stuff that's going on. Obviously, you know what's going on right now. George Floyd was a older black man who was charged with forging checks, and it was videotaped with 4 policemen from Minneapolis putting their knees on top of him, including one on top of his neck, and held it there for 9 minutes. The guy was complaining he couldn't breathe. The cops were laughing, didn't care. Other cops were watching to make sure nobody would try to stop him. George Floyd ended up dying due to asphyxiation, and that was a powder keg that set off protests all across Minneapolis that soon turned into riots. And then the next day, more protests, more riots all across the country, much as what happened in Baltimore about 4 or 5 years ago. And day 3, we are now in full-on race war preparation due to that idiot in charge down in D.C., telling his MAGA buddies, Second Amendment assholes carrying their AR-15s, like they own the place, to come down and teach these protesters a lesson who are protesting peacefully. Also, all across the country, in various locations, police officers are attacking peaceful protests. And this isn't just, racist. It's videotaped that they are protesting peacefully and police cars are driving into the crowds, killing people, hitting people with their cars. People are firing tear gas. A little girl was maced in her face. A reporter was shot with rubber bullets while doing a live broadcast. Another CNN reporter, a black CNN reporter, was arrested while being live on doing a report live for CNN, and a white reporter, also from CNN, right nearby, was not arrested. Police have been said that they do not shoot white people. They have been heard on hot mics saying they do not shoot white people, only black people. Police cars have been driving down in New York City and opening passenger side doors while they're driving, knocking over protesters. Another police officer threw a woman to the ground, as harsh as he could, called her a fucking bitch. And then you have the rioters. And I think, oh yeah, look, they're doing it again. No, actually, the newest conspiracy theory now, which actually isn't that unusual, is the people who are starting the riots and the property damage are actually white people dressed in black fatigues, black outfits with gas masks, smashing stuff, lighting things on fire, lighting black businesses on fire, lighting black neighborhoods on fire, because they're white supremacists who are disguised as white people who are trying to help the black people, fight the power. So they're starting off this powder keg. They're undercover white police officers, who you can tell by bands on their arms or their shoulders, who are also starting to make things get a little bit more violent, though most of the protests have been peaceful. There have been shots of other police officers who have entered a peaceful protest and just started shooting tear gas and rubber bullets at them. A pile of bricks happened to miraculously appear near a street where one of the protests was, just out of nowhere, basically saying, go ahead and use these to destroy stuff so we can attack you and start a race war. The asshole in charge has been tweeting nonstop about, creating this race war, and nobody is doing a damn thing about it. Seattle, Los Angeles are under a curfew right now. The Seattle curfew was announced for 5 p.m. Pacific time. The message did not reach everybody till about 15 minutes after the curfew started. That way they could attack with impunity, because they said, hey, we said it was 5 o'clock and you're out at 5:15. We're going to arrest you. We're going to attack you. It has been a powder keg that has been just outrageous. There's a protest outside the White House, which is the one where that asshole in charge is calling his MAGA buddies to come down and teach them some justice, which he literally tweeted. He also retweeted somebody that said, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. So basically, he's okay with shooting. He's also said National Guard can shoot and kill black people. That's also a live remark and not just a made up one. So I was going to talk a little bit more about this, but I don't know what else to say. The good news is it looks like Baltimore at this moment, which was a powder keg back a few years back, with the rioting, stuff like that, has actually been one of the cities that has been peaceful. But Seattle, Jacksonville, Louisville, Los Angeles, St. Paul, Minneapolis, the Bronx, DC, have all been crazy. The Amish have come out to help protest. Atlanta has sent out children in fatigues with raid shields, people who are like 11, 12 years old, to protect and guard stuff. So it is unfounded what is actually happening right now, and the fact that the white supremacists and people who want to get revenge on black people for being black are starting these riots and stuff like that, which automatically the police are going to think it was done by black people. So they're going to attack the black people and not the white people, because there's racism in the police departments all across the world. There's racism in the country all across the world. We've known that for a while, and this powder keg has exploded, and it is not good at all. I'm almost afraid to see if there's any updates. It's getting really bad outside the White House, someone said. Correction, is getting really bad everywhere tonight. Just all kinds of... And police officers have been smashing water that was put out for protesters. ICE has been called into LA. NYPD officers just drove an SUV into a crowd of human beings. Old police cars were dragged in the middle of the street and set on fire deliberately to make it look like they were destroying police officers, cars, stuff like that. A white supremacist broke into a police car and stole an AR-15. Luckily, a security guard nearby went and attacked the guy immediately and was able to take out the magazine and uncock the bullet that was in it so no one would get hurt. So, and that idiot in the White House is just egging everything on. I I I don't know what else to say, people. Things are going to shit, and it's only 10 o'clock, and anything can happen over the next couple of hours. I thought I was going to have more to say on this, but frankly, I am in shock right now about what is happening. Now, this isn't the only racist stuff that's been going on this week that has finally come to light. This week started off with a white woman in Central Park who was walking her dog without a leash, which is illegal in Central Park. But because she's a white woman, she feels she has her white privilege. She can do whatever she wants to do. A black ornithologist who also happened to be a former Marvel Comics editor asked her nicely, can you please put a leash on your dog? There's rules against that. The woman took affront to that. How dare this black person talk to me and tell me what to do? So she says, I'm going to call the police on you. And he's filming this the whole time. So she calls the police and starts this whole panic thing. Oh my God, I feel uncomfortable. This African American is threatening me. Can you please come down here to save me? He's saying all kinds of terrible things and threatening to hurt me. He wasn't. He's asking you to put your leash on your damn dog, which is illegal to have them unleashed in Central Park. So when the police arrived, luckily, the videotape showed to the police officer that this woman had made up the whole thing. The woman has been fired from her job, and there has been appearances that she was abusive to her animals, so the dog was taken away from her as well. Basically, what she wanted to do was she wanted to call the police, and she wanted the police to do to this black guy who was minding his own business what happened to George Floyd. She basically wanted him to die for the most part, get beaten up, shot, gassed, thrown around, whatever, because he dared talk to her about breaking the law. That makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. And at least karma in that case hit her well. Karma also hit a man in a Minneapolis building. A Minneapolis building tenant was told to leave his building after he called the police on a group of black people using the gym in their building. The black people lived in the same building as this white guy did. They had every right to be at that gym. And this white guy, hoping the police would arrest them and do the same thing that they did to George Floyd to these black guys, because he didn't want to see black people in his building. Instead, Minneapolis like, no, that's what you did is wrong. We don't want your type around here. And they kicked the white guy out, which is absolutely perfect. A parking lot woman sits on a teen's car to keep them from an open spot in a parking lot, and a hammer-wielding white woman screams expletives and racial slurs at a Mexican couple. One is a doctor and her husband, to get out of America. You know what? I don't know what else to say about all this. LA curfew, Seattle curfew talked about that. Fox News reporter was forced off the air by chance of fuck Fox News in DC. That's a good thing. That's a first. Sacramento police officer kicked a black man who put his hands up and then beat him, even though he was not threatening or anything like that. A young girl, as I said, was maced in Seattle, so there's shots of her crying. She was young. She was like 7, 8 years old. A woman reporter who was hit by a tear gas bomb in one of her eyes is now permanently blind in that eye, and she cannot go back to work for 6 weeks. ICE was called in LA, so lots of not necessarily illegal immigrants, but immigrants themselves are in danger there as well. That asshole is just egging on everything, tweeting out all kinds of stuff like it's some sort of movie. Um, that asshole also said unilaterally decided that Russia was going to be in the G7 group, even though the G7 group does not want Russia there. And he said he's not going to have a meeting in the United States of the G7 group until all these other countries are allowed back in, which is absolute BS. If I was them, I was like, well, we're not going to go to America. We'll have our own meeting somewhere else, and you're not invited either. A married Georgia youth pastor covers up his gay prostitution by lying that by saying he was kidnapped by two black men. So again, blaming black men for your issues. And actually, this week also started off with a whiny crying, pussy, wimp, traitor, coward, diaper baby president complaining that Twitter, who put a fact check on one of his tweets, can't do that. So he signed an executive order saying he's going to threat action against social media, which he cannot do, but he signed it just to say, look what I did, you pissed me off. And he did it the same day. Just to think what he could have done if he would have taken the COVID-19 stuff seriously, we wouldn't be in this shit. But he's a complete and utter moron, the absolute worst president we've ever had. And he needs to go, not in November, he needs to go immediately, now and forever. And I am scared to death about what is happening in my country at this moment. It's live. It's 10:26 p.m. here on May 30th. And it is an absolute nightmare out in the United States right now. As I said, luckily, Baltimore seems to be a little bit under control right now, but the racists are coming out. Someone I thought I knew pretty good is writing racist tweets, but in the end, I shouldn't be too surprised about them saying stuff like that. So this is just adding to how horrible 2020 is. And I thought I was going to have much more to say on this subject, but I'm tired. I'm scared. I'm worried. And I feel I've had enough. I'm tired of all this shit. I am sick and tired of nothing being done when obviously things are happening to this country that should not be happening. And it's getting me to almost the point where I want to revolt in some form or another, and I don't know how to do that. June 1st is rolling up real quick, and my unemployment date is up that day. Luckily, I got in touch with my work earlier this week, and they are going to stay in touch with unemployment. Once my date comes up, the unemployment will send them an email, say, do you have a new date set for this, or are you going to put no date down? So they said they would get back to me with that. Hopefully I will find that out about that. So I'm a little bit nervous about that as well. But I've got at least another week, and it gives them a week to get all this stuff done, because next week, even though it is after June 1st, I'll be able to claim the unemployment for this past week. And so I'll get paid for this past week. It'll be the week after that when hopefully they'll have changed my date and they'll let me know what that is. Or they'll bring me back to work, who knows, because Baltimore County has decided that they are going to jump to the rest of phase one. They did a small light touch on phase one for opening of Maryland. The governor is saying phase one is a go. Baltimore County has decided that they are now going to be all in on phase one, which means that 50% capacity in retail stores, outdoor dining, swimming pools will be able to open, youth sports will be able to get played, hair salons and nail places will be able to do business again, with appointments and distancing and stuff like that. So I've been noticing a lot of stuff recently happening around here, which is good. And then next week, Governor Hogan is going to discuss if the numbers are trending down again. We'll be discussing entering into phase two, at least starting phase two within the next week or so. Big literal dumpster fire outside the White House. Fireworks being launched at police. Is going to get ugly. Okay. People are feeling rough and sad and upset. Um, and it is an absolute shit show disaster right now. All right. Well, let's get into more depressing stuff. My annual death stuff. Not many deaths. That's a good sign, actually. Um, not many deaths this week again, and I don't think any by COVID-19. Bob Kulick, a guitarist of Kiss and Lou Reed, is dead at the age of 70. Anthony Jones, an Unforgiven actor in the heat of the night, many TV shows like Saturday Night, Star Trek Next Generation, stuff like that, dies at age 77 of cancer. Tony Reds, former 95.5 radio DJ, passed away this week as well. I didn't get the age on that one. Christian Mabula, professional footballer, is dead at the age of 23. Again, nobody knows why yet. Larry Kramer, AIDS activist, playwright, wrote The Normal Heart, dies at the age of 84 of pneumonia. Richard Hurd, Seinfeld actor, Deep Space Nine actor, dead at age 87, cancer. BJ Huff, BJ Hogg, Game of Thrones actor, dead at the age of 65. And Eddie Sutton, a Hall of Fame coach, died at the age of 84 today. And that is everybody who has passed away this week. The most famous being Larry Kramer, playwright. Mike Tyson used a fake penis during his fighting career. I would have guessed so when he showed up, either it protected his penis from getting punched hard, or he wanted to prove how manly he was on TV and to the boxers as well. Kind of interesting about that. Drunk man jumps into bear enclosure, wrestles bear. The idiots are insane. A spaceship has been discovered in Saturn's rings. This is one of the fringe things I look at, but they have some weird footage of a weird item in Saturn's rings. So that's an interesting aspect to that. Mongolia, actually, of all the countries in the world, Mongolia is the only one that had zero COVID-19 anything. No deaths, no sicknesses, no nothing. They had one case, which was someone from England who flew in to Mongolia, had it, and they just did a really good job of shutting things down when they're supposed to. But zero cases, zero death, and they're still keeping things quiet right now. They don't want, so they're still under. They're not opening up yet, so they're still under control. So New Zealand, yes, did a really good job as well. But now Mongolia is the one country that is actually, of everyone, has had the best response to COVID-19. Mansion for sale has an entire fake town in their basement. So basically, you go into their basement, this is my basement, and they've created an entire fake town in their basement. Now, there's no reason why. I mean, I guess you could make it for kids. I don't know if they did it for kids or if they were filmmakers or what. I'm not exactly sure, but a mansion's basement was filled with a fake town, fake storefronts, fake house fronts, stuff like that, stuff you'd find like in a theatrical play. So that's crazy weird. A UFO was filmed dropping a strange round object, and the photographer was able to locate where it was, and it actually was a round object where it was speculated that it was dropped. It looked like a regular, like circular, perfectly circular boulder. So there's actually videotape of the UFO dropping it, and the actual item on the actual rock item. So this one seems a bit more realistic than some of the other stuff as well. A man who was hired for a sexual fantasy, I guess, about breaking into a house and attacking a woman. I guess there are people who have those types of sexual fantasies. Well, he was hired to do that. Unfortunately, he got the wrong address and broke into the wrong house. So I don't know how you would explain that. And that's just kind of weird that people have that kind of kink, but I guess everybody is different. Is all the sex stuff on this one, or is it on the other page? I think it's on the other page. S'mores pudding shots is a thing. It's pudding, but alcoholic and tastes like s'mores. Interesting. Don't know how you could make it, but hey, it looks interesting, and hey, why not go for it? Summertime is for s'mores. Ventura Falls, Ventura County Falls, I don't know, kind of something falls, was closed due to human litter. So I guess Ventura County out there in California has a magnificent waterfall, and it's out in the woods. So they had to shut down the waterfall because the people who had visited once things opened up again in California just dumped all their trash without a second thought to nature, nurture, whatever. And people pissed me off again like that. I have no idea what this says. Baseball something has hit Texas. Oh, baseball-sized hail. That's what it is. Hits Texas in a storm that hit yesterday, I believe. Pictures of the hail being the same size as baseball have circulated around the internet. It's been known to happen. I don't think we've ever had baseball. I've never seen baseball-sized hail before. I've seen pebble-sized ones or stuff about that big. Sized hail has hit before, but not the baseball-sized hail. I don't think I want to see that, because that shit would smash your windows and dent your car and kill you if you're out in it. So it was bound to happen after, it was the last big film to come out in 2020, which is saying a lot. But Sonic the Hedgehog made a lot of money, and a sequel is now in the stages of being planned. To add to the already overflowing 2021 and 2022 as everything gets shifted due to COVID-19. So Sonic sequel coming. We'll see when that comes. What the hell is this? Oh, mysterious anomaly that's weakening the Earth's magnetic field seems to be splitting. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. A follow-up on it has shown that this mysterious magnetic anomaly, which at this point, the good side is winning, because if it wasn't, we would have our pole shift that has been threatened for years happening, where the poles would go like that and would cause disaster to the United States. But hey, it's 2020. If this anomaly is splitting and is going to split sooner than later, looks like something that would be fun to do at Christmas time, right? A full force pole shift. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully not. But it's 2020 after all, and this episode is Dylan versus 2020. So we'll see what happens about that. So one of the unfortunate problems with this COVID-19 with schools shutting down is that seniors in high school have been unable to have proms and graduations. In our area, they're going to do virtual graduations over a span of a week. Next week, not this week coming up, but the week after, is going to be every day. Is at least 3 or 4 high schools in Baltimore County are going to be doing 2-hour virtual graduations. But seniors' last day of school was yesterday, so they're done their schoolwork. Baltimore County has also declared that their school system is now going to be closed on this original day, June 19th, instead of June 22nd, which was the original date that they moved it to due to snow date. But because of all the stuff going on, June 19th is now the last day of school for kids, which is a great day for my birthday. It's fantastic. Good for them. Also, June 2nd is Maryland's primary election, but this year it is going to be all absentee ballot. Absentee ballots have been mailed to Maryland. So normally schools will be closed on that day, but they're not going to be because there's no school and there's no voting at the schools. It's done all through the mail. I mailed my wife and I's ballots today, actually. So ours have been sent in, and it's all done. So, but my point is, getting back to what I was getting to, a 7-year-old boy felt bad for his babysitter, who was 17 years old, was hoping to have a prom, everything like that. So he came up with his own idea to create a mini prom for her while using the 6-foot, used a pool noodle to do the 6-foot, social distancing. He created a dinner with her favorite stuff, had a playlist played of her favorite music, dressed up in a tuxedo. She dressed up in her nice dress. They took photos all over the neighborhood, and they had a great time. And that young 7-year-old has made her day, and just goes to show how much that he likes his babysitter and felt bad for her. And is a good story that we need with all this shit that's happening right now. Gloves and masks are polluting the Mediterranean Sea. I've been seeing that also. People wearing gloves and masks in grocery stores and other stores, taking that shit off and just throwing it on the floor of the ground of the parking lot or whatever, and not taking it to the trash can or whatever. You guys are fucking morons as well. You're just as bad as everything that's going on right now. Why do you keep doing this? It's bad for the environment, and now the Mediterranean Sea is overwhelmed with these trash thrown in there. My mom makes her rescue dog his own backyard. She did not have a regular backyard with grass. It was all, like patio basically. But when she got this rescue dog, he never had a grassy backyard to play in. So she decided that she would give him a treat and created her own little grassy area, small little patch of grass for the dog. And good on that. Burger King is using giant cardboard crowns to encourage social distancing in Germany. So that's kind of cool to see. The Boston Marathon has been canceled for the first time ever. I think I talked about that a few weeks ago when it actually was supposed to happen, but I figured I'd bring it up again because I saw it again come across my timeline as if it was a news story. So that's interesting. It's not going to be redone or restarted anywhere else. It's done. It's over. Done for the year. World's oldest man dies at the age of 112 years old today. The second oldest person is a woman. I think she's 111 years old. She should be the next oldest person in line, unless they just want to go with men. We don't know who the next oldest man is, but the next oldest person is a 111-year-old woman now. But the oldest person at the time, 112-year-old man, has passed away this week. It wasn't today; it was this week. A peacock tarantula has been discovered, and it has a metallic blue color to it, which is kind of frightening, but at the same time is actually kind of cool looking. The TV show Lucifer, that was on Fox, then moved to Netflix, has been renewed for a sixth season to, I think, wrap up everything. There was some contract negotiation with the lead actor, and he's worked that out, so now he's working. So new season will start once everything is over with. Last week, I went on my rant about the Snyder Cut that HBO Max is going to release next year, giving him $20 million to finish his film. And during this time, Snyder's sitting up saying, yeah, I got all these plans. I'm going to do reshoots, and we're going to make new dialogue, and we're going to clean up the storyline. And I was screaming and yelling that you're basically remaking your movie. Well, HBO Max says, whoa, whoa, whoa there, son. We never said you could do reshoots. We're giving you the $20 million to finish the special effects that were not finished and to recut your picture. That's it. You're not allowed to do reshoots with the actors. No Ben Affleck, no Gal Gadot, no Ezra Miller, none of these people, no Jason Momoa. None of these guys are going to come back and reshoot stuff for you. That's not what this 20 million is. This 20 million is for you to finish your visual effects because you claim you have the story boards all set for stuff like that. So you just have to use your special effects for that and to re-edit your stuff. That's it. That's all you're going to get. Makes me feel a little bit better, but still it's a bad precedent because now David Ayer, I talked about this last week as well, is now proclaiming I do have a Ayer cut for Suicide Squad. Nobody's ever seen it by now. So let's do that as well. And WB's like, maybe we'll do that as well. And then there are people screaming, yelling that there is enough material for a 4-hour Revenge of the Sith cut now too. So again, I'm not going to go off. I went off on that last week. If you want to see my epic rant last week, just watch last week's episode. I just wanted to say these are the updates for that, and that I don't want to see a 4-hour Revenge of the Sith movie. And I sure as hell don't want to see the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, which would add more Jared Leto Joker, make him more of the villain of the piece. I really don't want to see that. And I really no desire to see the Snyder cut as well. That's just me. An asteroid that hit at the perfect angle to inflict the most maximum planetary damage hit the Earth. Not today, not yesterday, millions of years ago, and that's the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. It hit at the perfect angle for the most maximum damage it could create. If it was off by a little bit here and there, we might not have had the extinction of the dinosaurs, but we did. It was fate, karma, whatever you want to call it, but that's what happened. Sea creature teabags. Teabag. My son used the term teabag about fighting somebody in Fortnite because his friend said it, and he doesn't know what a teabag is. I said, shake my head after I heard that. But this isn't what you think it is. For fans of heat, drink tea. My friend Gary. I drink tea too. There's probably other people out there who do it. You can now get sea creature tea bags that come alive in your tea, basically. I don't know what that means, but basically they're tea bags that look like crabs and shrimp and fish and stuff like that. And you throw them, starfish, you throw them in your tea bag, your tea, your hot water, and I guess maybe they move around, I guess. I don't know, but or they shouldn't, because tea bags don't move. You put them in, plop them in, and just let them sit for a while till all the tea gets soaked through and sucked into your tea, and you drink it. Wrestling-themed horror film, The Wrestling Massacre, will be coming soon. That's something we haven't really seen that much of. Even in the 1980s, when wrestling was huge, we never really saw a wrestling movie or wrestling horror film. But sure enough, there's one called Wrestling Massacre coming up. And speaking of wrestling, this is more MMA. Let me see if I can find this. Nah, we'll do that with all the sex stuff. Yeah, sex and MMA coming up soon on Dylan Knows. Z to be retired from the alphabet. It's not going to happen. It's on too many words. You can't just delete Z and change everything. You can't. What's a zoo going to become now? An oo? I don't know, but it's just another. I guess it's probably some sort of clickbait sort of thing to get people's attention. But don't mess with the alphabet. Why would you mess? If you want to get rid of something, get rid of X. You don't really use X. Archaeologist discovers pristine ancient Roman mosaic floor buried underneath a pile of vines. It was absolutely stunning. The pictures they showed of how perfect this mosaic was and how pristine and how, it doesn't look like it's been damaged or affected in any way by years of being covered up by vines and having snow, mud, and what. It looks absolutely pristine, and that's really kind of interesting. Stormtroopers, I talked about Disney opening up soon. Well, stormtroopers will be used to enforce social distancing at Disney World. It has the Star Trek world, or I'm sorry, Star Wars world there. So it makes sense to have, instead of police officers doing it in masks, you have people dressed in stormtrooper outfits with their stormtrooper masks on, going in there and enforcing social distancing. I think it's a neat idea. It's a good idea. I'm all for it. That's great. There's a 19-year-old CEO who has started a professional Minecraft building company. I guess you hire him to build Minecraft buildings and houses and stuff like that, and you pay him for it because he's a CEO and he's making a ton of money on it. So good for you, man. Hooligans steal 5 golf courts and trash a golf court in Brooklyn, New York. Hooligans will be hooligans, I guess, but that was the actual headline. Hooligans. Hooligans did it. J.K. Rowling has written a new book called The Ichabog, or Ichabog. She will be releasing the chapters online during the stay-at-home quarantines. She will be releasing it in a novel format this fall. So if you want to wait till then, you absolutely can. That's what I probably will end up doing. But what she's also doing is she's asking kids to make their drawings of the characters, and she's posting them on her Twitter pages as well. One of the things that came out of the quarantine is that restaurants and other places were creating alcohol delivery, so you could have alcohol delivered to your house. That was just something that they created. So, if you wanted alcohol, you could get it from restaurants, stuff like that. They would deliver it to your house, as part of Uber Eats or whatever. Well, DC is starting to look at stuff and says, you know what? We should legalize that stuff, alcohol, to go permanently, because that might, make a lot of money, and it might be a good thing to do. Speaking of alcohol, Rita's, the frozen Italian ice joints that you see all over the place, they are releasing alcoholic freezeritas, which are frozen margarita mixes with alcohol in it, but it tastes like your Rita's Italian ices. So you can have Rita's flavored alcoholic Italian ice mixes for your summer pleasure. So good on that. A remake of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead is in the making. That's a unique film to throw a dart at and say, I want to see a remake of that film, which I have to make a statement right here. Last week, I played Olivia Newton-John's song, Twist of Fate. It was from a movie that she was in with John Travolta that was supposed to reignite their chemistry they had in Greece. It did terrible. It was a bad movie. And I gave you a little misinformation. I remember the film. I watched it when HBO aired it all the time. We had HBO back in the 80s. I watched it a couple times, I would assume, because it was always great to watch HBO, something to watch all the time. I thought the movie was called Twist of Fate. It isn't. It's called Two of a Kind. And also, I thought it was about how John Travolta died and was reincarnated. Oh, excuse me. But it's not. It's about him being a bank robber who robs from Olivia Newton-John. And meanwhile, God is deciding it's time for him to destroy the earth. But some angels are saying, no, we can't do that. And God's like, we got to prove to me that earth is worth saving. So he says that guy, the robber, has to hook up with that girl, the bank teller who we just tried to rob. And that's basically the premise. And there's a demon or a devil or something like that is trying to overhears about this and is trying not to let them get together, because if they don't get together, God will destroy the earth. So, or the universe, I should say. So that's the premise of Two of a Kind, not Twist of Fate, as I thought it was called. And that was the description of the film. As I said, I have seen it, but the memories are vague about it. So I just wanted to correct myself and there we are. Labyrinth sequel is in the works directed by Scott Derrickson, who directed Doctor Strange, which is going to be kind of weird because David Bowie's not going to be in it. But for fans of Labyrinth, they're finally going to get a sequel. So huzzah, hooray for that. Loki had to stop filming their TV show that they're going to be doing for Disney Plus, but there's already discussions in place that they will be doing a season 2 of Loki already, even before season 1 has finished filming. I think they are smart to do that because it's going to be a huge hit, because Tom Hiddleston's Loki is amazing. It's a small, 6 or 8 episodes, and if you keep doing that every few years, Hiddleston will probably have no problem with popping up and replaying Loki when he can. So look for Loki 2 to be coming soon. China to deploy ducks in war with locusts, since ducks eat locusts apparently. China is going to unleash the ducks on them and to stop them. Hopefully that will be good. Do you know who Sarah Little Turnbolt is? Neither did I until I found out. She was the woman who created a bra cup that became the basis for the N95 face mask. So if you didn't know who that was, now you do. Speaking of history, a Civil War child soldier on the Union side discovered this week as well. He was 11 years old, and he fought for the Union in the Civil War. He actually was able to kill a Confederate soldier, and because of that, they made this 11-year-old soldier a general. And as you may or may not know, generals are the ones who are the bosses. So this 11-year-old kid became a general and was the boss of a squadron of Union soldiers. History's cool, isn't it? This is not so cool about YouTube, though. Not this. I have no problems with YouTube. But this YouTuber who made money off of showing videos of her adopting this autistic child and, doing videos of it and, showing stuff like that, has decided, I don't want the child anymore, and has rehomed the autistic child with someone else 2 years after she adopted him. So this woman is a piece of garbage. You should have, it doesn't matter if the kid has autism, whatever. You knew he had autism. If it became too hard for you, then you shouldn't have adopted him in the first place. You stupid bitch. So, and they monetize those ones because they get the views. And I can't get any views. I got 2 people watching me now, so thanks, guys and gals, for watching me. But I can only get about 16 viewers on my show, and I can't get monetized worth a damn. So, oh well. The Dolphins plan to turn their stadium into a drive-in movie theater. The Yankees said they were going to do that with Yankee Stadium last week. The Dolphins are going to do that for their stadium this week. Part of Phase 1 in Baltimore County, they are going to release, they're going to allow drive-in movie theaters to open also. There's only one that I know of. This is Benji's Drive-In. And the funny thing is what movies you're going to watch, because every single movie has been pushed back to, at the earliest, I think Tenet is still set for July. That's the earliest you're going to get a movie. And even then, people are predicting that it's going to shift away from that time zone because the movie theaters haven't opened yet. Now, the movie theaters can open anytime they want, but I would assume that they should probably open a couple weeks before Tenet opens just to get their motions back in and figure out what they're going to do with the social distancing and the masks and stuff like that. So they've got plans and they're working on it. So it's not that someone's like, oh, we're just going to bring it on. Yeah, no, they're working on it. So we'll find out. They're still aiming for July to open up the movie theaters. So I'll believe it when I see it. But you know what? If Maryland continues on its path as the COVID-19 cases are going down and Phase 2 begins up, it would make sense that eventually that would probably be open. Wasn't the biggest fan of Henry Cavill's version of Superman, but apparently with this whole Snyder Cut stuff, he is in contract negotiations to return to a number of DC extended universe movies. in some form or another. I don't know, his own movie, I guess, and then showing up maybe in Shazam 2 or Black Adam or the new Batman movie. Who knows whatever DC is going to do. But Henry Cavill is in talks right now. Wasn't the biggest fan of his Superman. So we'll see. Woman notices, takes a picture of a UFO that looks a lot like the Millennium Falcon. That's kind of interesting. Maybe it was. Pokemon schedule. So I'm not a big fan of the fans get to vote for who the next Pokemon Community Day is, because the 4 suggestions they had are all terrible. They're all Gen 1s, and they're all ones I could give a rat's ass about, including one that we've already done a Community Day on. Anyway, I voted, and the results have came in. So June's Community Day, which is going to be on my birthday, June 20th, actually, hooray, is going to be Weedle, which is the most worthless Pokemon you could think of. So Community Day on my birthday is going to be one of the most useless Pokemon of all time. His evolutions are a bit better, but still, bleh. And then July is going to see Ghastly, who I like Ghastly because it's a ghost type, and I like ghost types. But we already have the shiny Gengar, and it's not that different. It's just a lighter shade of purple. But it'd be nice to maybe try to get a shiny Ghastly. So maybe we'll see, but that's July, so we'll see what happens. But that's not the only thing going on. June 4th will be the beginning of the Unova Challenge, where you'll be able to see Unova Pokemon will be released more in the wild, which is the most recent gen. You'll also be able to do research to catch Galarian Pokemon, which is from the new Pokemon Sword and Shield. They have Galarian versions of already Gen 1s and Gen 2s that are out now. So they're going to release the Gen 1s and Gen 2s versions of them during this event. So that's coming up June 4th. The Solstice Event will be going on at the same time as Weedle Community Day on June 20th. So June 19th to June 24th will be the Solstice Event. I'm trying to remember what happened last year's Solstice Event. It has something to do with Soul Rock, which is the sun sort of Pokemon was in there, but they'll do all kinds of stuff for that. So that's going on. And then June 24th to July 3rd will be the Bug Event, which we did last year, which bugs. It should have been reversed but that makes sense because Solstice is on the 20th, but Weedle is a bug type, so, or is he just poison? I'm not sure. He looks like a bug. But the Bug Event, where you're going to have bugs out there, which bugs are the least interesting, really, Pokemon out there. So it's still interesting and could still be good, but that's what's happening in the world of Pokemon Go now. I had a whole bunch of stuff about Starbucks last week. I only have one item about Starbucks this week. They are going to be releasing color-changing cups this year. So those are always kind of cool. There was an ad I saw for color-changing swim trunks. So you might have blue swim trunks, and once you get in the water, they turn to red. And then when you pull out, they're blue again. So we'll see if that's the same. But the cups will be that way as well. A Colorado eatery fills tables with people dressed as ghosts or actual ghosts that they created out of, sheets and stuff like that to help it feel less empty. And I guess also to control the social distancing in the restaurant as well. Kellogg's, this is actually kind of interesting because I used to do this as a kid when we had 2 boxes of cereal, different types of cereal that were not many left inside, and pour them together into a bowl. Kellogg's is releasing the Mashup Cereal. The first Mashup Cereal is going to contain Fruit Loops and Frosted Flakes together, which I've actually done too as well. So it's a cereal box that has both Frosted Flakes and Fruit Loops in it mixed together. So you pour it out and you'll get Fruit Loops and Frosted Flakes. As I said, we did that when we had multiple boxes of cereal. They were all close to being empty. We just dumped it all into one bowl and just ate it like that. It was pretty good. Raisin Bran in there with Fruit Loops also is kind of interesting too. I think a couple weeks ago I talked about how interesting Titan, the moon of Saturn, was. Well, we've got something more interesting about Titan this week. could rolls of liquid methane, or sorry, waves of liquid methane appear to be washing away craters on Titan. We know that Titan is the only other place in our galaxy that we know of right now. As we said, Europa might have it, and other moons of Saturn and Jupiter might have frozen oceans under the crusts of ice on the planet, but we can't literally see them right now. Titan, we can see the liquid, but it's not water, it is liquid methane. So they have liquid methane oceans, lakes, streams, rivers, and it's the coolest thing in the world. That's why I want to see it. I want to see what a ocean on another planet or another planetary body looks like. That's what I really want to see, but I digress. Anyway, these waves of liquid methane appear to be washing away craters on Titan, which means that we also know that it rains gasoline, which is kind of liquid methane also a little bit. So they must have been having some floods, or maybe the waters have overflowed and have been running downhill, and they've been wiping out these craters. So that's an interesting thing as well, and I hope we can see more of that later. We need to send people to Titan yesterday, or at least robots to Titan to check stuff out there. Cobra Kai, the spinoff of the Karate Kid movies, started on YouTube, did 2 seasons on YouTube, and now they're looking for a new channel to stream from. I don't know, they just with some contract negotiations didn't work out or whatever, but right now Cobra Kai is looking for a new home. I haven't seen any episodes of Cobra Kai. I've read the descriptions in Wikipedia. It sounds like an interesting idea for a show. It brings back Ralph Macchio and the guy who played Johnny. I forget his name right now, and he's actually the focus of the show, really, and Ralph Macchio is there. Kind of, but he's not like the star of the show. But it'd be nice to see if maybe it gets to Netflix or whatever, and then they release all the seasons on that. I mean, I think you can get them on YouTube for free right now instead of paying for YouTube TV, but I don't know. Cate Blanchett has been cast in Borderlands, which is based on the video game, which will be directed by Eli Roth. So another video game movie coming. Borderlands is one of these bizarre, weird, alien, Western sort of horror type video games. And so Cate Blanchett has been cast in that. That's an interesting idea, I suppose. DC Comics and Warner Media employees have been told that you will be staying home and working from home until 2021, which is fine because most of them are freelancers anyway, and they can still fax stuff to their editors. The editors can do stuff at their home and then send them to the printers and all that stuff. But they'll be working at home through 2021, so they will not be in their offices at that point. So there you go. 3,500-year-old Canaanite prison scene on a rock disc sort of thing was discovered by a 6-year-old on a hike just out in the middle of nowhere. There's a historic piece of rock with an old school carving in it from 3,500 years ago, just sitting there in the woods. That's just unfathomable, but it happens more often than you think it does. And a 6-year-old found us. That makes it even cooler as well. Okay. Wanted 2 people with basic survival skills to look after Great Blasket Islands in Ireland. It's an island much like Rowan Inish, which was a movie that I love watching around St. Patrick's Day. It's an island that this Great Blasket Island used to house just like one family on it. And it wasn't part of the Irish Empire, but it had this, it's very small and had just, a few houses on it where these families live. There's no electricity, no running water or no toiletries. They had water so you can drink, obviously, because you need water to survive, but you're in Ireland in the middle of nowhere. So it's like Rowan Inish, but now they are looking for people to actually run the island again, to get it up and running again, but you will not be able to bring over internet and TV and running water. So that you're going to have to be able to survive with candlelight and fires and be able to cook your own food and fish and find fresh water and streams around the island as well. Sounds like a neat idea if you want to relive your Rowan Inish lifestyle. So good on that. Ben & Jerry's has a new ice cream flavor called Boots on the Moon. It was inspired by the Netflix TV series Space Force with Steve Carell, which started yesterday, came out. Every episode was released on Netflix yesterday, so you can stream that. It is a parody of Space Force, which is that idiot's idea of a new spending money on a new military department where space is where it's going to patrol, except we don't have any ships and no aliens and no bad guys in space, so it doesn't make any sense. It just seems sort of dumb to me when you could be using that money for, I don't know, pandemic, fighting, or, stopping racism and violence, that type of thing. But hey, what do I know? But it is inspired by that. It is a milk chocolate ice cream, hence the moon, and also fudge covered cows. I guess little bitty cows and little cow cookie type things that are covered in fudge. You're gonna have that. There's the moon as well. Almond toffee meteors. I guess little chunks of almond toffee stuff mixed in there around a sugar cookie dough core, which sounds really interesting. So sounds good. You can now get Boots on the Moon at any of your local Ben & Jerry's stores right now. We're going to end today's show with 2 sex stories, because why not? We all need a little sex. I know I do, but that's besides the point. First up, a Brazilian sex hotel opens an MMA-themed room complete with an octagon for couples. So basically, you've got the cage around the bed, and the bed is an octagon, so you can wrestle in MMA style, but naked and with your lover. And you can do the titty squeeze and the cock grab and stuff like that, whatever those MMA moves are that they do. So, you can do that. Brazilian sex hotel opens an MMA themed sex room. If you're interested in having MMA style sex, go for it, man. And finally, the most cringeworthy story of the day, that's not about racism or violence and rioting and that poopy, whiny, pussy, coward traitor. Girlfriend's family sex ritual makes groom very nervous, and it makes him actually very uncomfortable, and he doesn't want to do it. So, guy falls in love with girl falls in love with guy. They date for a while. He meets her family, enjoys the family. She meets his family, enjoys his family. He proposes, she accepts. They prep for their marriage. So they're doing their marriage prep, stuff like that, and they're visiting the family because the woman's family pays for the wedding, so they're making plans for the wedding, and a lot of her family are making little jokes and side remarks about the wedding night. And the guy's just brushing him off. He's like, they're just joking with me. But one day, very soon before they get married, he discovers that her family has a bizarre sex ritual that they do for every couple that gets married. So here it is. And just tell me if you think this is uncomfortable, because it's a little uncomfortable. So the woman's family, what they decided to do is, so you get married, but instead of going to a hotel or going off onto your honeymoon right away, like a lot of couples do when they get married, to consummate your marriage, which means have sex, for those who don't know that. I wouldn't, because I didn't have sex on my wedding night, because one of the members of my wedding was drunk off his ass and was suicidal. So that was wonderful. And we had to keep watch on him to make sure that he didn't kill himself till he passed out. And then by the time he passed out, it was like 3 a.m. and we had to get up by like 7 a.m. So we didn't really have time. We were exhausted anyway from the wedding and the partying and stuff like that. But that's besides the point. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this ritual. So basically, instead of going to your honeymoon or going to a separate hotel away from everything to consummate your marriage, the woman's family's sex ritual is you go back to their house and you consummate the marriage in the bed of his new wife, where she lived. That's where she slept when she was, before she met this guy, and that was her house. So they consummate the marriage in her bed. That's not the weird part. The weird part is the girl's family is outside the door listening and waiting until they come. Gets a little worse. So now you're having sex with your wife for the first time as husband and wife. Her family is outside listening to it. And then when you both come, they storm in to the room. You're still both naked. You just finished having sex. You're still both naked. You're still a little off kilter. They storm into the bedroom. They scream and cheer and applaud and high five and hug you guys on the bed and cheer you guys on. Then one of the mothers or the grandmother, whatever, cuts a swatch from the blankets that they just had sex on to put on a quilt with all the other sex ritual pieces of fabric. So there's an actual quilt where all the members in the family went through this sex ritual that has been sewn together of pieces of bedspread, stuff like that, where sex just happened. Would that make you uncomfortable? It sure as hell makes me uncomfortable. That's it for today's episode of Dylan Knows, episode 351, Dylan versus 2020. I usually take about an hour to come down from this high or whatever it is that you call it. So I will probably be monitoring all the shit that's going on outside right now and banging my head about wondering, why am I watching this or following this? And then I might decide to just play some more Fortnite. Who knows? Anyway, next week's episode will be in June. And hypothetically right now it's scheduled to be June 6th. So, which will be 2 weeks before my birthday. Looks like I'll be doing an episode on my birthday. I don't know if I've ever actually done an episode on my birthday, but I will be doing one probably this year. So stay tuned for that. Be safe out there, not only from racism and violence, but also remember COVID-19 is still out there also. We're not out of the woods yet. And I think things are going to get worse before they get better. And fingers crossed for hoping that things get better before they get worse. Thanks for watching, guys. Please be safe out there. Please love each other. I'll be seeing you.